our first guest recognized the absence of Native American cuisine in the modern culinary scene, he knew something had to be done. He's joining us today with a look at his new book, Turtle Island, Foods and Traditions of the Indigenous Peoples of North America. We welcome the Sioux Chef himself, Sherman, and the book's co-author, award-winning writer, Kate Nelson. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Sean, maybe I'll ask you first about the title. Tell me about the significance of Turtle Island.
Well, it's just kind of a pan-Indigenous notion of the world being born on the back of a turtle shell, and many tribes kind of have the same notion. And so for a lot of people within the Indigenous community, everybody just kind of knows that Turtle Island signifies North America.
Kate, how did you get connected to Sean and start working on this project? It seems like such a fun collaboration.
It's been really incredible. We're both based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'd followed Sean's work long before we ever worked together. I wrote a few articles about him, and then it just seemed like the perfect fit because we wanted to, in addition to this being a cookbook, it's so much more than that. So It has recipes for really delicious decolonized foods, but then we wanted to sort of show the context, the culture, the history, and how that all blends together with the food.
Can you take us through the format a bit? You said it's so much more than just a cookbook. You're going to learn a ton of stuff, and kind of by region, is that right?
Yeah, so we broke North America up into 13 regions, and it's just kind of like, what does North America look like without colonial lines? So there's no U.S.-Mexico border or no U.S.-Canada border. It's just all this massive diversity of indigeneity out there, and just looking at the indigenous foods, cultures, and peoples and land spaces from the bottom of Mexico to the top of Alaska. And there's so much to explore, and we couldn't fit everything into this book. You know, it's just too much to talk about.
Yeah. There's a lot in there, though. Oh my gosh, there's so many great things. And you start with the basics, right? The Indigenous pantry, and kind of letting people know really about the backstory of the ingredients.
Yeah, so we sprinkled in some of the traditional recipes, and a lot of this is a look at the future of like, what does our food scene look like if we include the Indigenous narrative and the Indigenous beginnings of everything that is Native America. You know, and it's ridiculous that we don't have more Native American restaurants everywhere, because it's you know, having a restaurant like Javelina or like ours, Wamini in Minneapolis, it's so rare to find out there in the world, and we want to see that change.
Yeah, I was shocked that we didn't have more. I remember when we were talking about Javelina opening, and I was like, wait a minute, this shouldn't be so unique, right? There should be more of this representation. What's it like for you, Kate, to be able to be involved in a project like this that so aligns with so much of your work amplifying Indigenous voices?
It's been a really amazing journey, and you know, even though there are only a few names on the book cover, we really share this with so many knowledge keepers, so elders, cooks, producers, farmers, all sorts of people who shared their wisdom with us so that we could tell these stories. Because I'm Tlingit, I'm originally from Southeast Alaska, Sean's Lakota from the Great Plains, but we wanted to tell stories even beyond that. So it was an incredible journey to speak with all of those knowledge keepers.
It's so cool to have all that history and culture woven in. Did you ever imagine a food book would be on your resume? It's kind of an interesting turn for you.
You know, I think that food is such an incredible shared language and a medium to help people, you know, not only quite literally experience and have a taste, if you will, of Native, you know, culture. But it's been really wonderful, and he's the chef, but I'm here along the way.
There you go. You're helping translate into the literary form all of those great things.
Exactly.
Can you share a little bit more about your restaurant and what people experience there?
Yeah, so our philosophy was just basically highlighting what's possible with modern Indigenous foods by removing colonial ingredients that European immigrants had brought over. So we took away things like dairy, wheat flour, cane sugar, beef, pork, chicken, and just focus on wild game and wild foods of where we might be, and native agriculture, using a lot of heirloom seeds and things like that, and just envisioning a whole new way to cook, though, to feature what our true North American, you know, true foods from where we are happen to be, and showcasing that diversity, because it's so different everywhere you are, whether East Coast, West Coast, you know, the mountains or the plains, everywhere it changes, and there's so much to talk about.
And what about all the great people that work with you at the restaurant? I imagine it's kind of a big family effort.
Oh, absolutely. We have an amazing team, because our restaurant's a part of our nonprofit called NATIVS, or North American Traditional Indigenous Food System. So we use the restaurant as a tool because we are able to hire a lot of Native community to work with us. We move a ton of food dollars towards Indigenous producers because of how we try to prioritize how we purchase. And it just brings a lot of awareness. But it's really healthy food, because everything in the restaurant's gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free,
Right.
soy-free, pork-free, and, you know, we won that James Beard Award, best restaurant in the United States without, you know, sodas or ranch dressing.
Right, I bet people maybe bristle at first, said, wait a minute, you're taking away all these things I'm familiar with, but there's so many other great foods to celebrate and enjoy in that way.
Yeah, and I think there's just so much opportunity to do this work all over the place and
Yeah.
everywhere, and so it's been a lot of fun just to see that project really kind of grow and thrive, and, you know, we're working on building more and just being
Yeah.
a bigger support center out there and building more resources like this cookbook for people to utilize.
I got to ask you, as you're celebrating the release of the book, you got to appear on The Daily Show recently.
Yeah.
Tell me everything. That had to be so fun.
It was super fun because Ronnie Chang was the interviewer, and he had been in Nowamini a couple of times and became a
wonderful.
really big fan, and so we were able to line that up, and it was just amazing to be on that show, to be able to talk about things,
Yeah.
and because it was a long interview format too, so I think people should really check that out if they
Yeah.
can find it.
What a great platform. They do such a good job. How do you feel now that this is officially out in the wild? I know it takes so much work to make a book like this happen.
It does, you know, and it takes time. So
Yeah.
by the time that it comes out, you've moved on from maybe what were the challenging parts of it and the deadlines and the
Yeah.
sleepless nights. But it's so gratifying to see it out in the world and to see both Native audiences and non-Native audiences really gravitating toward this work. And I think it resonates in a way that makes us realize, like, at the end of the day, we're all human.
Right. Well, and how beautiful that, yeah, people who are familiar with this culture, they're celebrating it, and then other people are learning about it for the first time and maybe finding new foods that could be a gateway to even more things.
Exactly.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much for having
Really
us.
great
Thank
chatting
you.
with you. Okay, Sean and Kate will be appearing at Powell's Books tonight at 7 p.m. We will have more information on our website at katu.com. The book again is Turtle Island, and we will be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.